Thank you so much for joining. Ooh, and we have Dr. Pia.
Hello.
Doctor, how are you, sir? Thank you so much.
I'm trying to hold on.
Thank, thank you so much for joining this call. We appreciate your time and your support of the brand. As always, you remember you were our first guest at our maiden webinar, and you're also the first
Yeah.
guest now for our Instagram lives. Thank you so much. We don't take it for granted. We're very grateful to have you share your weekend, with us. And thank you, everybody. Oh, Ekong is here. Hi, Ekong. Thank you so much for joining. So good to have everybody. Okay, so let's just go straight into the business of the day. We're looking at recycling and public health today on this live, and we want to explore the hidden hazards in Nigeria's waste culture. We all agree that, as a people, we have a culture of indiscriminately disposing our waste, and we want to see how that impacts on our health, if it does, today. Nigeria's waste problem, I'll just introduce the webinar. Our waste problem in Nigeria is no longer just an environmental concern, we would agree. It's becoming a public health crisis, right? And poor recycling habits and inefficient waste systems are fueling that circle of pollution that we see every day. Diseases and environmental decline. We would all agree that, the state of our environment is begging for urgent attention. In recognition of these challenges, we also acknowledge the opportunity for change by adopting better waste practices, strengthening recycling systems, and promoting individual responsibility. And that's the core, right? We're not pointing fingers at others today, we're looking inwards at ourselves. We can protect both our environment and our health. This session will explore how poor waste practices harm the health of Nigerians and how we can break free from these habits to build cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable communities. So at this point, please, if you can, reach out to your friends and ask them to come on this important conversation this afternoon. I am very certain that there would be valuable takeouts. At the end, we hope to gain a clear understanding of how poor waste management harms the public health and our environment at large in Nigeria. And then we would look at simple, practical actions that, we can take to improve this, improve waste handling and recycling in our homes and in our communities. We want to also be able to, encourage personal responsibility. I said it at first, it's about what each of us can do because we all have something to offer. So without any further ado, I'll just read a very short bio of our speaker and guest this afternoon, Dr. Femi Idowu Adegoke, aka Dr. Fia. That's what I call him. So if you hear that name as we go on, understand where it's coming from. He's a chartered environmental and waste management consultant with over 2 decades, that's 20 whole years, of experience spanning the UK and Nigeria. He holds dual master's degrees in environmental and earth resource management from the Kingston University in the UK, and environmental monitoring and assessment from the University of Sheffield, also in the UK, as well as being a professional doctorate in advanced waste treatment methodologies. So I don't, he's well positioned, right, to speak to this topic today. He's the co-founder and executive director of Eco Viridis Environmental Technology Limited, a pioneering circular economy enterprise converting municipal solid waste into resource streams. Dr. Fia is also the past president, and I worked under him at that point, and first president of the Lagos Recyclers Association, known as LAGRA. If you guys don't know that there's an association in Lagos for recyclers, well, you're welcome. You can search them up even here on LinkedIn, follow them. There's a website. It's a proper, association with the foundations set by Dr. Fia and the team at the time. And as an association, we're building stronger daily. So please follow them and learn more. If you're interested to be playing in the waste recycling space in Nigeria, especially in Lagos, you should be on there. So he's also the first and, past president of the Lagos Recyclers Association, where he championed sustainable recycling practices and industry reforms across Lagos State. He's currently serving as the Special Assistant on One Health in the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. He contributes his expertise to integrating environmental health, public health, and sustainable waste solutions into national health strategy. He is the member of the Chartered Institution of Waste Management, a doctoral fellow of the Institute of Leadership, Manpower, and Management Development, and a mentor with the Tony Elumelu Foundation. Dr. Fia is widely recognized as a thought leader in circular economy development, environmental innovation, and youth empowerment for sustainability in Africa. Come on, guys. Can I see all the emojis for our guest this afternoon? See the profile now. And that's short, so we just try to, summarize it because of time. Thank you so much, Dr. Fia. I'm not seeing the emojis. Come on, you guys, give us some fire. What's going on here? Thank you. Dr. Fia, thank you so much. We're so blessed to have you come join us today on this call. So we'll just go right into it. How would you describe the current state of waste disposal in Nigeria today? Lord, just take it away from there. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. This cannot be more, it cannot be a better time to have this conversation. And I want to say a big thank you to your team, Green Hill, and yourself for always taking the initiative and innovating and reaching out to the public, because these are conversations that we don't want to have, but we need to have them. We don't want to have them, but we need to have them.
Absolutely.
And like I always say, we must prioritize our need above our wants. These are conversations that are needed. Like you said, how is our waste management in Nigeria today? As much as I don't want to sound, like you said, we're not pointing hands today. We are not where we're supposed to be, but we're not where we used to be. So we're in transition. I would say Nigeria's waste management is in transition. And I would say that in the last 12, 15 years in Nigeria, we have seen progressive transition. Mainly, which I always give that credit to the entrepreneurs, young Nigerian entrepreneurs, with their innovations, with their contributions. Yes, the government policies are catching up, and we need more. We need to do more so that we can be where we're supposed to be. Recently, at the national level, there has been a phase down to a phase out when it comes to plastic waste ban in Nigeria. NESRA has come up with that policy, and the implementation has begun this year for single-use plastic. And then Lagos State as well has taken the lead in that with a couple of other states who are looking at or who have banned the use of single-use plastic. Is for me personally, as an industry expert, I just feel there are more ways, better ways to achieve that. Carrying the people along, having the conversations, educating the populace, getting the industry um, practitioners involved, the manufacturers, getting them involved, the FMCGs, getting them involved. At every step of the way, we yield better result at achieving this. And like I always say that there's no rush
mm,
to banning.
mm,
I'll give an example. People can go and read it up. The Kenyan and Rwanda. For Kenya effective banned single-use plastic in 2017. But the process, active process, actually started in 2008.
mm,
So it took 9 years of rigorous work, rigorous campaign, providing alternatives, developing strategy, perfecting, even though it's not perfect, perfecting the policies, frameworks, and working with the people. Because
mm,
every one of us generates waste, but we do not want to live with it. So people
mm,
must have that understanding that it is responsibility. It is their first responsibility to look at their consumption rate, reduce what you generate in waste. Waste reduction in the waste hierarchy is topmost on the agenda. Minimizing what you generate is key. So, like I said, we are in transit and hopefully we'll get there shorter than we've always done, taking a longer route. So, our waste recycling is a very critical component of achieving sustainable waste management. No doubt about that. And we've seen how that is playing out in key major cities in Nigeria: Lagos, Kano, Abeokuta, Ibadan, even Anambra now recently, Abia State, going to Abuja. You're seeing people are taking responsibility, and the government in some of those states are already beginning to work with the private sector because no one can do it alone. There is need for that synergy on collaboration.
mm.
And in relating it to the public health, do you want me to go that way, or I should just stop first and let
Wow, don't
you?
worry, we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, so I think you touched on it just a bit when you talked about, you know, what individuals can do, but I would just, like you to elaborate a bit based on what you've observed, right? Uh, Describing the current state of our waste disposal as being transitional. You said we are in a transition phase as a people. And interestingly, we all generate waste, but we don't want to live with the waste, right? So based on, what you've observed, what everyday habits, in households or in communities seems to be contributing to this situation? What are we doing every day? Maybe we're not cognizant of it. Maybe we don't pay attention to it. But what are we doing every day as a people in our homes, around our communities, that is contributing to this current state of waste disposal that we experience in Nigeria today?
Okay, one of there are different factors contributing to it, but I'll try and mention some of them. The first one is a cultural shift.
Hmm.
The culture shifted from sustainable use of materials to disposable use of materials. So we became, it's not only Nigeria, globally, but it's affected
But
us most.
we're focusing home. We want to deal with our home first.
Yeah. Well, it's a global challenge, but the reason why it's affecting the developing economy or African countries mostly is because prior to that, we didn't even have a sustainable system for waste and environmental management in the first place.
Hmm.
So when the backlash or the negativity of disposable living started, we now became a dump, an open dump for everything. So the cultural shift, for example, when we were growing, if I use a book in primary one and I move to primary two,
Hmm.
even though there's
You
four,
pass it
5 years
on.
between me and my younger one, the book is going to be passed on.
Hmm.
But these
Hmm.
days, you
Hmm.
don't find out that the book somebody used this year might be irrelevant next year.
Or even the systems will not want you to recycle
Yeah,
it. I mean,
that's
that's
what I'm
just a
saying.
very
So,
that's a very valid point that we need to even take action on. Sorry, sir, I don't mean to interrupt, but you just struck a nerve right now or a chord, right? Because even for me, I have just two children who are, barely 3 years apart. It just hit me now that even when they were going through primary school, they would insist that you buy books again. I tried to fight that in the school, and I'm like, why? Why can't we recycle these books? Why can't you have a rental process system where you lease it out to the next generation, and then if they mess it up, like they don't return it in the state that it was given, then they have to pay for it, right? So it even teaches the children accountability. You will see the names of all the children who have used that books from 5, 10 years ago. But they would insist that you buy new books, even if they are the same books, right? So even when they're not irrelevant, sometimes the schools and the systems, as a means to make extra money, impose that on parents. That's such a
yeah.
valid point. Continue, sir. I have
Okay,
another fight
so
to
yeah,
fight.
no. So based on that, even at that, when we were younger, the books were properly preserved. And you realize that in preserving those books, and when I'm using a book now, I either wrap the back with an old newspaper
Mm,
or wrap it with an old calendar. So now you find out that not just that you are preserving, reusing the book, you are saving a lot of used paper in your calendar, in your newspaper, from even ending up in your bin.
mm,
That's one example. Now, also, when we were younger, we had pipe-borne waters. There
mm.
were taps at the end of the street where when we run to play football, we go there and put our hand and drink water. Today, we
Hmm.
have dry taps all over the place. So these are cultural shifts, and then everybody is on the go. I want bottle coke, plastic coke, plastic bottle water, sachet water, sachet drink. Everything now is disposable.
Hmm.
And yes, I understand there are economics around it, create jobs and all of that. But like I said, because we do not have a proper sanitation method in place, this became a problem. And it's a global problem now. We're all sinking in plastic. Yes, plastic, I say it every time. Plastic is a very beautiful, wonderful material. But is plastic the problem? No. Waste management is the problem. We have a waste management cultural problem where you just take, make, and dump. And then you generate enormous waste. So there has to first be that paradigm shift, that cultural shift towards our survival. That's one. Then two is looking at our environment and our health. Now, people create open dump site everywhere, burning waste because they don't want to live with it. And when you burn that, it's a major public health issue, because when you burn waste in the open, you are having release of different chemical elements like dioxins, furans, greenhouse gas, and all of that. And then people are inhaling them. Even when you don't inhale them, whatever goes up comes down. This thing comes down and settles on different materials in the public. Don't forget that we are a society where we do public trading. People are on the street, and then I'm buying biscuits that smoke of whatever that has been burnt has settled on the wrapper. I take it, open the wrapper with my hand, and watch public health. And you consume the biscuit or whatever you're consuming with what has contaminated the wrapper. And then we're asking ourselves, why do we have several sicknesses and outbreaks that we cannot even find out? So we have moved away from basic of life. So these are things for me that are our challenges. But in every challenge, there's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And like I said, recycling reduces waste volume that we dispose to open dump sites or landfill or anywhere. But the practices or the informal, unregulated practices of recycling actually can have or have negative impacts on our health, which is very, very critical. Let me stop for now.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for dealing with that question extensively, taking us back years, taking us back several years, and just being able to make that important comparison of how we've shifted culturally, and it's affecting us in many ways than we can count. Thank you so much. So considering these habits, I mean, you talked about openly burning, openly dumping, and the relationship that has to our public health. What are some of the most visible or impactful effects of poor waste management that you have noticed in our communities? The most visible or impactful effects of poor waste management that you have noticed in our communities?
Wow. Okay. In relation to health, air and water pollution can never be overemphasized.
Mm.
Flood has become flood as a result of blocked drainages with waste, with municipal solid waste, has become an annual occurrence. It's become a perennial, like we're harvesting yam every year. And also, also vector-borne diseases, because we have to relate this to health. Vector-borne diseases like malaria, Lassa fever, and leptospirosis. These are the result majorly of bad or ineffective sanitation. When you talk about sanitation, waste management is key when it comes to sanitation. So, for example, in Lagos estimatedly generates over 30,000 tons of waste on a daily basis. What is happening to those waste every day? I can tell you authoritatively, because I played in that space, less than 20%, between 15 and 20% of that is what is recycled. And when you calculate that, what is still left is enormous, and they end up at the dump sites. Open, whatever you want to call it, landfill, dump site, controlled, managed, it's still dump site. And they are not sustainable. And all these things, when you go, I visit dump sites regularly before where we are today. Where we used to go to dump site like every other day to look for our living, and then you see how people live on the dump. They live on the dump. They have no access. They are helping the society, but they are killing themselves,
Absolutely.
and no one seems to care. No one seems to want to educate them. Everyone just wants the waste off their site
Mm.
and give it to the informal sector. I can tell you 80% of our waste management, yes, Lagos has done PSP, they've done recycling, but the truth is that 80% of our waste in Nigeria, in Lagos, as a case study, are still handled by informal sector,
Absolutely.
unregulated, unregulated, untrained, unprotected.
Mm.
And that's why you find when you go to some of these dump sites where the informal sector, the waste pickers are working, you see someone today, by the time it's 2, 3 months and you go there, or he's sick, and then it's gone. But we keep telling them, yeah, like I said, it's a transition. In the association, we have in the last 2, 3, 4 years, there has been a lot of activities, collaboration, trying to educate the informal sector, a lot of initiatives, trying to formalize them, let them see reason that it goes just beyond survival. Because a lot of people found themselves in the informal sector of waste management because of survival, and they live from hand to mouth. But we can tell them that, look, yes, you can do better than this. You can still play in this industry, but you have to protect your health, because health
Absolutely.
is wealth.
Thank you so much. Someone said that absolutely that they also suffer the same in Calabar. Thank you so much, Peck Louis, for adding your voice to this conversation and for, uh, letting us know what is happening even outside of Lagos State. So, I mean, all of these everyday habits, like openly dumping, openly burning, and just disrupting our health systems, and how even though there's some noise in the background, I'm not sure where it's coming from, and even though you touched on the informal sector, how they contribute very importantly to helping the entire system work, like they're the engines at the moment behind that system, trying to um, make it work, but they are in the process harming their own lives, right? And their own health. How do these poor waste practices pose a threat to public health? I think you've touched a bit, but you in answering that question, you sort of touched on how it affects the informal sector, right? Now let's look at it on a broad scope. Like everybody, we have this impression that it's not at my backyard, so it's not my business, right? When it gets to the dump site or the landfill or wherever,
Right.
somebody else will take care of it, it's not my problem. We generally have that mindset, and that sort of informs the everyday habits that we display as it relates to our health or our waste. Now, let's move away from the informal sector a bit, and let's look at how these poor practices pose a public health, threat to all of us generally, whether we're sitting in the White House or we're in Makoko. How does it affect us generally?
Okay. It affects us. Okay. I see if I knew you were going to ask this question. So I wrote something down. Let me just, I think I wrote about 4 lines down, which I said the public health risk of poor waste management practices. So improper or unsustainable waste management disposal in landfill, open dump sites, unsafe recycling practices negatively impact health in several ways. Exposure to toxins, and I'll give you an example of that, which I was part of at my early days when I returned back, when I Japada in 2012. I was part of a short research that was done at Okobaba for POPs. POPs are persistent organic pollutants, and these are hazardous materials like lead, mercury, cadmium, and persistent organic pollutants were found in breast milk
Oh, wow.
of nursing mother at Makoko. I'm trying to remember the name of Stradev. Stradev is the NGO that carried out that research work, and I was part of the officers who were gathering data on the field because I just
Breast
came back to
milk.
Nigeria. Yes, where POPs were found in breast milk, and POPs are found mainly in what do you call it, organic material like a raid that you're using to kill mosquitoes and all of that. So they are
Insecticide.
insecticides. Thank you. So those are relatable impact that you can see. Negative impact. Also, air and water pollution, burning plastic and cables, burning organic waste, releases carcinogenic substances like dioxins, furans into the air. Leachate from unregulated waste dump or waste landfill, whatever we want to call, contaminates our groundwater and surface water sources as well. And then we consume all this, and then we're saying we're having dysentery, we're having cholera, we're having all of this. So most of these things are coming back to us because I say it all the time, and I'm sure you must have heard me several times. It is whatever you throw to the
It
environment
gives
will throw
back
back
to
at
you.
you.
Yeah.
It gives it back to us. So we need to, and also I've mentioned this one. I wrote it down. The vector-borne diseases. So poorly managed waste management become breeding grounds for rodents and
Mm.
mosquitoes, increasing risks of diseases like malaria, Lassa fever, and leptospirosis. You know, so we see all these. Oh, where are they coming from? They are not coming from anywhere. We are creating it. We incubate the problem and we live with it. So we must begin to have a cultural shift. And like I said, these kind of conversations are needed on regular basis. We're not pointing hands at anybody. We all have roles to play. Everyone from your household, can you reduce your waste generation? That's the first thing. Are you giving your waste to the legal and formal waste managers? Your general waste to the PSP, your recyclable waste to the recyclers. You understand? So you know where your waste is ending up. And then on the policy side, on the government side, infrastructural development, enabling environment, creating a space for industries to play and enforcing your laws.
Mm. Not
Enforcing
just
your
on
laws.
not just on paper, right?
Yes, it has to be done. Because if it's not done, then we are going to be here in another 10 years, which I don't pray it happens because I won't want to talk about this in another 10 years.
Mm.
I would just say, count me out because,
Mm.
but like I said, it's not all doom, it's not all gloom. We're in process. In the last, I've seen Nigeria's waste management evolve, and this is the first on your platform. Will be the first. I'll say, look out for it. My book is coming out
Ooh.
on waste management evolution in Nigeria.
Ooh.
So it's before the end of this year. It should be out. I've
Oh,
been at it for a
wow.
while.
Fantastic.
And
That
that,
would be a
and
great
that's what
lead.
I know that things that I feel with these are the kind of conversation we need to have, document them, and then the people who are living now, the young ones, the older ones, the middle age, have access to it, and then we
Absolutely.
can pass it down to the generation coming.
Wow, that's amazing. Let me be the first person to say congratulations publicly
Thank you.
on that
Thank you.
milestone. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been a long time coming. So thank you for finally doing it. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Dr. Pia. This pollutants found in breast milk, almost off me. That's so scary, man. Because
Yeah.
before a child is even, even has
Exactly.
their own, before they even
Before the child
study
is
their
born.
own
Yeah. Before the
experiences
child is
with the
born.
world,
Yeah.
they're already,
Yeah. At least
injecting
they are already at risk.
pollutants.
Yeah. They are already at risk. Yeah. At
It's so
least some
crazy
survivor at
because
least to live.
in this, and it's so true because when you look at the statistics or, data, some of the diseases that we growing up then, they tag old people's disease, like, okay, when people get to a certain age is when they start displaying some of these habits or these diseases, pardon me. You see it in young people, you see very young people having cancers, very, very young people, and you're beginning to wonder, where is this coming from? you know. But like you said, we can't wonder because we are the ones, creating them. Somebody asked, does cooking with firewood relate or cause these problems too?
Absolutely. 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 And that's why there's so much awareness and provision of clean cooking stove.
Yeah.
You know, cooking with firewood has damaged a lot of pulmonary and respiratory system of our um, older generations and our
Particularly
people in,
women, let's say it as it is,
yeah, women.
particularly
Tell them
women.
say our mothers, our mothers in our rural areas. Because I say it all the time. We cannot concentrate development or infrastructure creation to only the centers, the urban or peri-urban or suburban areas. Our rural areas have a large number of us. We must take this message to them. We must
Mm,
provide them with alternative,
mm,
and we must translate this our discussion to our indigenous and native language so that people can relate. So that they can
absolutely.
relate because in African folks and tales and history, people have died from these diseases, but they think it's one God that is
Mm,
killing them. But they did not know that it was things that they were doing to themselves over time who had caused these illnesses and sicknesses, and they didn't have access to medications or to medical care. Some were able to look after themselves with use of herbs, but some just believed it was God. They were angry, their gods were angry with them. But it was not. It's now we found out that a lot of people had passed, died untimely because of exposure to all these toxic chemicals, toxic emissions. Imagine when you're burning firewood, the thick smoke, you might inhaling, or you are inhaling like also, if you are with a smoker, someone who is smoking, the smoker is actually is passively inhaling part of the smoke. But you that you are not is a non-smoker that is seated there, you are actively inhaling it raw, and you are more in danger. So these are things that we need to be able to relate. All these little things, as we call them, they are the ones who cumulatively become the huge, humongous mountains
there's
that we cannot climb.
there's nothing little about a newborn baby ingesting, harmful substances, even before they can
Yeah, pops.
call the
My
name
sister
of
was
their
saying,
parents. I know. There's nothing little about that. It's so scary. It's
Yeah.
actually very scary. So do you think that most people truly understand the health risks associated, pardon me, with poor waste disposal? Do you think people, I mean, we've talked about, trying to translate these formal messages, conversations, webinars, lives, panel conversations, all of these things, I made a post about it on LinkedIn to say that,
Yeah.
how do we, it's okay for us to do all of this formal, but what of Nkechi and Nkiru and Halima and Salisu on the streets, right? So we've talked about these people, how they may not truly understand the the impact or the scale of this problem to their own health, because they may not relate. We have to find ways to translate all of these conversations in a language that they can understand. But
Yeah.
beyond people living in the suburban or in the rural areas, everyday hustler in Lagos, for example, everyday hustler, do you think they actually understand the gravity, the threat that this poses to their health? Do you think so?
One, the first, they don't. Most don't. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Most of the everyday people on the street of Lagos, on the street of Abeokuta, on the street of Ibadan, on the street of Enugu, on the street of Kano, Kaduna, they don't, because survival is first. And that is why I said that both the private sector and government needs to do more. I've said it before, I'm waiting for when I'm going to see an advertisement of Billboard that is talking about waste management
Mm, mm, mm.
in the language. And then people can be able to see. We want to see a program where a national television program, indigenous language, is done towards our health and our environment. Will be a long seasonal conversation on TV, on radio. The way when you talk about extended producer responsibility, these are things that they need to do. Then education. You are not just you shouldn't be educating the recyclers or the collectors.
Alone.
You know,
Only.
they they already understand it and they already want to do it. You must educate the public in the best way. And that's why in waste management, there's what we call social strata. The social strata for waste management, the way you deal with someone who is educated, fully educated, is different from how you pass the message to someone who is not educated. But
Mm,
you are going to have the same effect, the same impact, but you're going
yeah.
to give the message in
The
different ways.
same outcome. Yeah. At
Yeah,
the end
you're
of
going to
the
have the
day,
same outcome, but different approach.
strategies.
Because
Yeah.
I'm going to tell somebody who is still looking for 1,000 naira to feed, who buys 200 naira gala to eat, that, oh, don't throw that gala up on the floor. Are you all right? I want to eat gala and go and chase my other 1,000.
Mm,
He doesn't understand. So we must craft a way to explain it to them that, look, if you throw one liner of gala today, you think it doesn't have effect. By the time you throw 30 over 30 days, you let them see it. 30 wrappers blocks your manhole. Water cannot flow. You have stagnant water. Mosquito lives there. Mosquito comes to your house, bites you. You have malaria. At the same time, that stagnant water is still there. Heavy downpour of rain, you have flood. Water comes into it. So you are losing all because you are throwing your own.
mm.
So imagine you explain to someone like that, your own little impact too. And then when you say 1,000 of you have that 30 wrapper times 30 days, you know how much
And
that is
and
across
the,
the globe.
and the 1,000 naira you are chasing will not even be enough to help
Enough
them
to look
solve
after.
that
Yeah,
malaria
yeah,
eventually. Mm.
yeah.
Somebody actually mentioned in the comments a while back that, the solution to maybe the solution to actually dealing with this is through storytelling. And I totally relate with that. Somebody also said it's such a critical conversation, but a difficult one, an important task, but difficult to take control of. Well, it's difficult, I agree, but it's not impossible, as we continue to,
Exactly. That's
yeah,
what I'm going to say. It's not impossible.
yeah,
If
it's
we
not
see,
impossible. It's difficult. It will be a long road, but it's not impossible. And, conversations like this, actions after the conversations, because it's not enough for us to talk, but what do we
I just
then
want
do
to drop, let
afterwards?
me drop this that is coming to my head. I want to drop something. You see, the truth is that, yeah, like the person said, it's difficult, but it's not that it's not achievable. It's achievable. And the example I want to give us or leave us with is with the Netherlands. I came back about a week ago from the Netherlands. I went on a circular economy innovation mission with the Netherlands government. And Netherlands is actually a country that is built, that is underwater. They are below sea level. It was a problem. They've been dealing with that problem for centuries. Today, because they were deliberate and they were intentional, the whole globe, everywhere in the world, they come there to learn how to deal with water problems. So their own challenge, their problem has become their strength. To the extent that we were told and we saw some of it for ourselves, a country that is built on top of water, that is submerged by water. Let me just say, because if they are that's submerged by water, a country that is so in that state produces a lot of agricultural produce, food. They have so much food security that their production, they only consume 25% and they export 75%.
Oh, wow.
And I saw a country where plastic, they have plastics, but the intentionality and the strategy at looking at control areas like their hospitality industry. At least I stayed in 3 hotels in my 7 day stay there. There were no plastic dispenser. They were glass dispensers for
But
dispensing water to the public.
if we go into that, that's another conversation on its own, because when you talk about energy requirements for glass or alternative to plastics, that's a whole new conversation and how it impacts on
Yes,
our climate,
no,
right?
what I'm saying is no. It is the intentionality.
Reality, yeah. Being deliberate
It
about the actions that we take.
is intentionality. And then you can get clean energy to produce these things. Glass, I recycle glass. I collect glass, crushed glass. Glass does not lose value. You can recycle it 1 million. After you recycle plastic, after the fifth time, it begins to leach.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you are getting on the other side, you might be losing in your life. You might be losing on the right. So we must be intentional. My message on that is the intentionality and being deliberate at where we want to go. Do we want to stop our perennial waste management problem that causes environmental hazards, health hazards to our life, or we just want to look away as if nothing is happening?
Wow. That's a question I will pose to. I'm excited to see the first person who would take on that challenge and respond in the comments. Thank you so much, sir. Well, almost wrapping up here. Um, you know, um, I just have a few things to talk about. So we talked about, public awareness, and how critical the role of educating the public, whether the young generation, passing the message in a way that is interesting to them. Somebody talked about storytelling, comics, through the things that they like to engage in today, cartoons, in a way that they can relate to it, reaching out to the uh, people in the informal space, the informal sector, what you call the rural area,
Scavengers.
speaking to them. No, I'm even talking about, generally people who live in the rural areas, being able
Okay.
to com communicate this in a language that they understand. Somebody said, language barrier, and it's so critical. How do I explain to somebody? I've experienced that in my line of business, where sometimes you even need an interpret English.
Interpreter.
Interpreter, pardon me, to pass on the message that you're trying to communicate, just to even transact with somebody. So we've talked about the need for all of these public awareness strategies, and how we need to engage the waste, communication strata, where the same message to one may not be the same to the other, but in the end, you achieve, the same outcome, right? That's also very critical. Um, I mean, I don't know whether we want to go into government policies today, because that's a whole conversation. How,
We can mention
we begin to have implementable policies, like policies
that.
that are action based, are process based. A lot of times as I begin to learn more and expose myself more to sustainability and social responsibility, there are lots and lots of things that I'm learning. I'm so excited about. A lot of times, even as organizations or as the government, we set very broad goals, right? But we
Yes.
don't take on a process phase,
Yes.
to achieving those goals. And that's where it begins to fall apart. In Nigeria, particularly, most times the stakeholders, the main people who are going to drive those policies they're not even engaged in
Yes.
implementing, in
They're not
constructing.
in the room. They're not in the room
Yes,
to talk of beyond the
they
truth.
are not in the room to contribute their voices to those policies in the first place. So how do you feed me something to run with when I don't even understand the vision, right? So those are conversations that we must have. I don't know if it's something you want to touch on, but I
Yes.
just want us to, okay. So as you just quickly
Um,
touch on that, what are some
um,
common misconceptions you have encountered around waste and recycling that might be holding people back from changing, right? So let's just briefly talk about the government part, and then we can touch on this very quickly.
okay. Fantastic. So, Nigeria as a country has adopted policies like the National Environmental Sanitation and Waste Control policies, extended producer responsibility guideline. But our major challenge is the implementation. At implementation, we falter. The implementation is always weak. And there are some gaps that personally I've seen in that implementation. So weak enforcement of health and safety regulations across board, from industry to homes to health and safety is everywhere, from homes. We only talk about health and safety at some high, they say they're high safety concern industries, the oil and gas industry, those are the health and safety is everywhere. So yes, lack of integration between health and waste management policies. There has to be an integration.
They are dealing
Health,
with them in silos.
yeah, health and waste management policies must be integrated. Absence of health monitoring data among even waste workers. People who are cleaning our, collecting our waste, and they are dying in droves. Sorry, like I mentioned, the informal sector. They they are open to all forms of sicknesses, illnesses, without even health cover and all of that. I know some initiatives are coming up in place recently, but it's still not done at a large scale.
Yeah.
It needs to be entrenched in our everyday life. Also, limited investment, which are these are policy gaps. There are limited investment when it comes to waste management, health, health campaigns, waste management campaigns, health and waste workers, education and protection. There are limited investments. The waste managers are essential workers all over the world, and Nigeria recognizes that they are essential workers. But are we treating them as essential workers? Do they have access to essential needs to be able to carry out their jobs, to be able to do it diligently, to be able to do it sustainably, to be able to be proud? See, some of us, people, I tell people, I have been on the back of a truck before. People will say, oh, he's in UK. Yes, but nobody looks down at me. Even in the United Kingdom, no, people don't want to do waste management job. You are collecting trash. But I was doing it with dignity. And over time, it became my passion. It became my lifetime. And today, I've spent 25 years in this space from a truck loader. Though I was doing my master's, but I started as a truck loader. It was after my master's that I moved up a bit and I became a recycling officer. And I was still following truck, monitoring the truck. I was doing the job with prestige. Became
And
a manager, became a...
your health, your health was protected. I like that fact, that point you just made, that, public health workers, do they have the basic needs, to even protect their health? I'm sorry, essential workers, pardon me. Being essential workers, do they have the essential needs, the basic needs to actually protect their lives as they carry out that very important duty? I remember during COVID, I think waste workers still worked, right?
Yes,
That was one
yes.
time to
You
show
have to
that.
Waste collectors have to be on the streets. Because if you are dealing with COVID and your waste is not correctly collected, you are creating another disaster in waiting.
Yeah, another hazard. It's crazy.
And while I work at the back of the truck, I get paid extra for odd hours for being an essential worker. People at the same cadre of work don't get what I get per hour. Are we doing that here? Are we encouraging people? Are you giving people honor and prestige in their work? I tell people I'm a trash person. Yes, and I do it with every confidence anywhere I go in the world. I say I'm a waste manager. People look at it, I say yes. I forget the suit, forget the tie, forget the when it's time to get down to work, we get the work done. And like I said to all the informal sector that we're trying to formalize, that look, you have an opportunity now because you have people like us who are educated, who have done the job the right way. I tell people I've done waste management the right way from day one, the sustainable way. When it's an opportunity for this advocacy, for this campaign. So we need that. Government must invest. It's a must. I'm not saying I'm not covering my mouth. Government must invest in waste and public health worker education and their protection. I'm being specific. It's a message. Because if we don't do it, we'll just continue talking in another 20 years.
That's from somebody who is in government, right? Who knows, you hear him say it's a message because he understands what he's talking about from the back end. We'll keep talking about these things and hopefully it would land in the right audience. So just to wrap up here, for people who genuinely want to improve, the people who have been on this call from the beginning, and it's over an hour, and they're still here, right? So people who genuinely want to improve, but they feel overwhelmed. What are some simple, practical actions? Some people can think, this problem is beyond me. It has been there forever. I can't really do anything, or my own little, contribution might not move the needle. But what do you think? How do we change that perception? And what are some simple practical actions that every one of us today on this call can take away right now to begin to manage our waste better and protect our health. Just to address something, I see a statement
God
from
said, why
Hasnet
government
Farm.
first?
Yeah,
And
why
I
government
said,
first? If you
I'll
joined
respond to
the
that.
call from the beginning, you would,
You will
if
know
you
that
had
it's not government
started
first.
with us, you would know that it wasn't government first, right? Just to say that we have been
Thank
looking
you.
at ways that each of us, what are the roles that we each have to play? First, as individuals, we've touched on different areas. So it's not just, we're not pointing fingers at the
Not
government.
government
No,
first.
we all have our
No,
collective responsibility.
exactly.
So, Dr.
Exactly.
Fian, I mean, people who really want to make a change, they want to make a difference, but they're overwhelmed. How do we change that perception? And what are some practical, actionable steps today, this Saturday, that we can actually take away and start to implement today?
Okay, thank you. Like I said when I started, on the waste management hierarchy, the first is minimization. And how can you do this? Look at your consumption, reduction of waste. If you reduce your waste generation from home, then you can be part of it. And don't look at it on immediate or short-term impact. It's a long-term impact. It's a wider impact. People will say, oh, if me, I'm doing it, my neighbor is not doing it. Yes, you can be an apostle, and then it takes you a while to convert your neighbor. And like I always say, see something, say something. It's not in a bad way. When you see something, approach the person and speak to the person. And look, communicate in a language you understand. If we are all doing this, we are all going to bear the brunt. I have done that. A lot of people, even where I live in Abuja now, people try to bring their recyclables to me. And I say no. Yeah, because I show them what I do. And like I starve my general being. My general being, I starve it. The only thing that goes there is the little organic waste I generate. All every other one, plastic, glass, I recycle them. I collect them, put them at the back of my boot once in a while, and I drive them to Ecobata. Sorry, I have to mention in
No,
Abuja,
sorry for
one of
what?
our
No, you don't have to be sorry. We're all seeking solutions here. And if there are people who
so
are in Abuja, follow
yeah,
EcoBata, check them out, and
that
recycle your
and
waste with them. By all means,
then in Lagos, if you're in Lagos, in Abeokuta, in Ibadan, look for the nearest recycler because
there
there
are
are
lots of
values to
them.
this thing. People don't even know there are values to this thing. Because when we need to, people need to know that there are values to almost every stream of our waste has value added to it. Some have not been structured, but if you take the unstructured value out, like to an extent, our organic waste is
Yeah,
highly valuable,
I was just about
but
to
there
say
are
that.
no regulations that is driving the conversion and the recycling of organic waste.
Yet,
We've done a lot of We've done a lot of research work. I've been part of that. We've done a lot of gaps and needs analysis. We've submitted recommendations. Private sector enablement to come into that space needs to take the front burner. Once that is done, I can tell you 40 to 50% of the waste that ends up in dump sites or in landfill would have been catered for. So if we're doing that and we have about 20% recyclables and we're looking at 40% organic waste, that's 60%. That will reduce drastically. We've not talked about electronic waste, which is gaining also another traction, is becoming properly structured. So if for me, I tell you, as a consumer, look at your consumption rate, reduce your disposable life attitude. That's one. Then two, like I said, recycling is good, but I'm not saying don't recycle, but the first most preferable one is even if you can avoid generating the waste.
Yeah. Reduction, avoidance. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So if you cannot now do that, that you have to use it, then now use the material and then keep the packaging
Mm.
and then recycle the packaging. Those are little things that individuals can do that we need to. Then the government, I want to now, we've talked about what individuals can do. I now want to bring it back to the person who asked that question. See, government, we're not pointing out at government, but we're saying what government is doing and what government can do better. You know, there is always a policy. There should be, let me know, there should be a policy integration that we align waste management strategies with the health sectors, which are under priority on the framework, like what I do now presently, the One Health approach. The One Health is human health, animal health, and environmental health. At the national level, we have the framework, we have the national action plan, and work is ongoing to cascade that to states. Some states already have this approach. And what does that mean? It means every state we have a policy framework, an action plan where these three major sectors, the human health, the animal health, and the environmental health, we work together and develop a policy to guide against outbreaks, health outbreaks, environmental challenges. So they are working together. When they are working together, when there's a climate action, climate change issue, the health aspect of it is dealt with the human health. The animal health aspect is dealt with the veterinary, and the environmental is we're not running around when there is suddenly a disaster. We already built a resilient system. It's all about building resilient system. So when these things come, at the same time, even when there's health as an outbreak, there are environmental impacts. When
Absolutely.
there is animal outbreak, like Ebola, Ebola is from animal. So
Yeah.
it comes from animal to human, and then to human, it affects the environment. So that is the One Health approach is a global approach that has been developed by the World Health Organization, which Nigeria has signed up to, and then we have the national framework, which is now being cascaded down to the states. Already, I can tell you on top of my head, about 12 states in Nigeria are already working, and then the national body is training officers at the state level. And then, so we're not saying government is not doing anything, but government can do more. The people have a role to play. The government have a role to play. We all have a role to play to
And when
achieve
it comes
our
when
desired.
when it comes to health, really, the government is actually responsible for certain aspects of human, like they're responsible for the health, and safety, really, like protecting lives and property, right? So we would not say, oh, because we don't want to be seen offending certain spaces. No, we would appropriate each stakeholder's responsibility, including us, both of us, each
Yes,
of us
yeah,
having this conversation. We have
yeah,
our,
we have a role to
yeah,
play,
part of, we are part
our
of the
role starts
community.
from here. Our role starts from here. We are part of the community. We are discussing it, and like I said, we must prioritize our needs above our wants. You understand? There are a lot of young Nigerians who are coming up with innovative ideas, but there is no regulations. There is no government backing. Let me
Yeah.
use that directive. I don't, because
Infrastructure.
people say they don't understand directive. There is no, okay, for example, in Europe, organic waste, if you are taking it to the landfill, every local government that is taking organic waste to the landfill pay landfill tax.
Mhm.
So that informed a directive or what is called organic waste diversion. So when there was then private sector saw opportunity, okay, where are they diverting it to? If it's not okay, no local government wants to pay that fine. So a private sector comes, I want to install my organic waste converter to fertilizer, to biogas, and then when I convert it, I can sell it back to you. You can give it to your farmers. You can use it to generate heat. You can use it to generate energy. That directive will drive innovation from the private sector. Those are the target-based directives we're talking about. We don't have that yet. We need to begin to have that in our governance system.
Fantastic. I mean, there's no better way to just deal with that question. I hope that the person who asked why government first, understands the have a better perspective to that question now. Okay, so finally, if you just had 30 seconds to speak directly to every Nigerian about waste, what would you say to them? 30 seconds.
I will say to them, waste is a resource. And like every other resource, it has a value. And we all must unlock that value. Thank you very much.
Woo! You did that in less than 30 seconds. Thank you so much, Dr. Fia. I mean, we could go on and on and on about this conversation, but I think a few takeaways. I mean, it would be nice to have you guys put in the chat what your takeaways are from this conversation. Let us be sure that we pass the message to 1, 2, 3 people. We said if each, if you see something, say something, if each one tells the other, we will continue to be a better community, a better society. If people know better, I always say, people know better, they would do better, right? So let us all be apostles, understanding that we can't deal with this issue in silos. There's some interconnectedness, and we must harness that. Our waste management practices directly, not even indirectly, directly speaks to our health, and we must work with them together. Thank you so much. Oh wow. I'm so excited. He stayed till the beginning. Ekong, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. He says, unlock the value of waste. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Waste is a resource, and like every other resource, it has value. Not in silos, in clusters. Fantastic. We can't work in silos. We have to be collaborative. My takeaway is that working together helps to grow fast. Fantastic. Waste is gold. Thank you so much to everyone who has stayed on this call from beginning to the end, even if you just dropped by for a few minutes. We're so grateful that you were able to join. Well, hopefully we'll have the replay on our platform. Please follow us so that you can learn more about these kinds of, deep conversations that we must have, and implementation practices, everyday things that we can do to make our society better and our health better. The person who asked about, community, send us the DM. We're actually in the process, Green Hill is actually in the process of building a community, and I mean, we'll share more information about that as we unfold. Again, Dr. Fia, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on your upcoming book. We can't wait to read it and to learn of your wealth of experience. Change our culture of waste management. Thank you so much. Yes, so many takeaways. We'll have this replay on our page. Follow us to learn more. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Fia, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be on this call. We really appreciate you. Thank you, everyone who joined. Thank you for the support. It means so much, and we're very grateful. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.